Welcome in. You are listening to another episode of KeepTheChange.co.nz's Money Mail. And shit, I hope you're as hungry as me to kick this year off. Far out. Feels like there's some renewed optimism and positivity out there. I think part of it might be misguided, as I said on the podcast with Mikey, where people just are hungry at this time of the year. They are keen to get on with it. Things are going to be different. It is the 9th of January at the time of recording this, and I can't keep up with DMs, LinkedIn's, Instas, emails, all sorts of shit that I've already got on my plate. But that's all right, because I know that this is a wave. Because most people...
Not Thursday. Just hungry.
Sorry, I just had to get that bit out of me. They won't be able to keep up with it. And the hunger will disappear. It'll just be another year. I know, it's brutal. Not for you though, not for you and I. I'm not talking about you and I, I'm talking about most people. You know, by mid-January, the resolutions are done, they're dusted, and the grind of the normal year is back and it's here. And it's much like Mikey said on the podcast that we did, getting ready for 2025, all of a sudden we've got anniversary weekends for Wellington, Auckland, we've got Waitangi weekend. Before you know it, you know, we're looking forward to Easter, etc. But it's going to be middle of February very quickly, and it's going to disappear for a lot of people. Now, I've come back a little bit earlier than what most people do because, well, for a number of reasons. But anyway, you get a bit of a jump on it. And I do think this week gives you a bit of an unfair advantage to get in front of people, to get a head start. And I know that it's really important to take breaks and stuff and whatnot, and I'll definitely be doing that as my life changes and I have children and school holidays and things like that. So I hear you, I get you, I see you. You got to build your own stuff, but I'm running my race. I've got my own goals. I'm competing with different people. I'm competing with people in my industry. So I'm having a crack at it the best way that I can figure it out. But I've already got a workshop in place for Next Advisory, and I've just sent out the invite to that and have got through 12 tickets to that already at $100. So $1,200. There you go. I'm often telling you guys about making a bit of extra cash, etc. And I'm practicing the same sort of stuff. But if you don't do the work, it doesn't happen. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've got some big shit planned this year, and I'm just hungry. But I'm hungry every year, and I'm hungry to stick to the processes, and I'm hungry to keep bringing you all value. Now, one of the ways that I think we can do that is by addressing the elephant in the room, and that is the big D. Your big D. Yes, that is a mighty elephant. And we'll get into what the big D is in a minute. But first, I will trigger you with this amazing quote that I recently saw. It said, it's never been easier to succeed. And I thought, give me a look at the comments on this one. However, they followed it up with a truth that hit me like opening the old inbox after the break. And probably much like yours when you open it up and you get back into it for the 2025 year. And it said, it's also never been easier to get distracted. And ain't that the truth? You know, doesn't that just smack you in the face and you think, yeah, wow, that is really how it is out there, isn't it? Now, recently there was the person who sent in that they were doing toenail clipping for the elderly at $20 a pop. I had to check with them. I'm like, is this for real? And they may be listening, so shout out to them. And they're like, yes. And broke down how many they can get through and all this sort of thing. And I've checked it up on Insta, and it's, you know, there's that saying, and it's kind of rude-ish. And even I'm like, oh man, that's pretty like, is the word crass? I think crass or crass or anything. Anyway, it's like a bit in your face. And it's something around, you know, it's not your choice if you're born poor, but it's your choice if you stay poor. And that, man, that smacks you between the eyes. Holy shit, I'm looking out the window. They've put up a new New Zealand fucking flag out the window of my office. That is a good looking flag. That's clean. It looks bigger than last year's one. I thought it was looking a bit ratty. I don't know who paid for that, but anyway, shout out to whoever put that flag up there. It's on the old clock tower here in the 09. What a beautiful sight. Anyway, crass is that saying. And I said on the post, you know, when people say shit to you like, you know, there's not too many excuses these days. And it's not hard to make money. You're like, what? But if that's not what you've been taught, it's hard to believe that. But when you see someone out there clipping someone's toenails for $20 a session, with an effective hourly rate of like $80 an hour, and people say, this is a low wage economy, man. We don't pay people very well in New Zealand, eh? Man, I think this is one of the best examples that I've seen that just dismisses heaps of that shit. And you go, well, I don't know. That person's getting $80 to clip people's toenails. So, yeah, I don't really want to subscribe to your whole New Zealand doesn't pay high enough wages and all this shit, because I don't want my rest of my life to be like that. I want to look for ways to add value, to be able to extract a bit more, to be able to help people, to transact with them, to have them pay me because value is more than what the price is, so they're willing to pay. Yeah, I kind of want to live over there. So anyway, this is, I guess, a good example of this exact saying. You know, it's never been easier to succeed. However, it's never been easier to get distracted. So I called this one 2025. It's never been easier to succeed. Now, we've got to get into it because there's a bit here, and I'll go a bit deeper through the pod. So prepare yourself. But I really wanted to encourage all of us to think about the big D and think about what is distracting us and try and really hone in on it. And I've spent a bit of time in this Money Mail making sure that we go deep into the big D and take it nice and deep so that we can just ensure that we're all over it and we can address it. And then we can just carry on. So if you want to have a prosperous 2025, the answer might not be more hustle, but less noise. One of the most powerful strategies for financial growth could be as simple as removing distractions. So often as humans, I think we need to add more shit. But a lot of the times when you study successful people and you look at people who are doing well, they're actually removing stuff and they're trying to do more with less. So they're trying to take things away and go, do I really need to do that? And they're trying to refine things. But human nature suggests we've got to keep adding more. So I started thinking, what gets us distracted? So I was thinking about this quote and I was like, well, what does distract us as individuals? And of course, we're going to take a financial lens on this. So let's explore some like softly ones to start with, and then we can kind of trigger the masses. So one, like impulse spending. Think, social media, email promotions, and limited time offers designed to grab your attention and your dollars out of your wallet. Now, that's easy, right? And that's, I think, familiar for a lot of us because this stuff is just, it's happening everywhere around us, and we have to be aware of it. The next one, subscription overload. From streaming services to meal kits, subscriptions are everywhere these days, right? They drain your bank account. I mean, they're all good if you're actually using them. I've got lots of subscriptions, but it's worth, figuring out. Even, I was using some like AI tools and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I think we're still subscribed to those on an annual rate because it's cheaper, but I need to remember to cancel that. So what about subscription overload? Like, what's that actually doing? And how many do you really use? And we'll talk about those later on too. And just be honest when it comes to your subscriptions. Financial comparisons. Scrolling through others' curated highlights reels can lead to keeping up with the bloody Kardashians, the Joneses spending. This is really dangerous at this time of the year. You got people that are online, having an amazing time, doing all this curated, excellent shit, eating out, partying, festivals, boats, yachts, holidaying, new cars, new gear, fancy meals, and all good and well. But if that is then distracting you from getting yours and doing your shit, is it really worth following? Is it actually distraction disguised as inspiration? You think that you're following them because they're a good follow and they're inspirational and all this shit, but really you're just keeping yourself distracted. Let's get a bit rougher and prepare to be challenged. So those are three easy ones, right? Like impulse spending, subscription overload, financial comparisons, just to get us thinking about distractions. Now let's get like a little bit tougher on ourselves. Like, what about reviewing your calendar and actually go through your calendar and have a look at your schedule? How much time is being spent on distractions instead of goals? What's actually in your calendar? Next one, audit your favorite followers or influencers. Who are you following, imitating, or letting influence your decisions? Are they helping or hindering your financial growth? We've all purchased shit off the back of influencers, right? It's influencers like a new word for marketing or whatever. I was watching a TV advert yesterday for this thing you lay down and get a massage from, and it was the most convincing TV advert I've ever seen. And I think it might have been Suzanne Paul still doing the voiceover. I'm like, man, I'd forgotten how convincing these were. And I thought, man, my nana used to buy so much of this shit off of TV. And I was tempted to buy this massage thing. I'm like, this looks epic. Warmth radiating up and under. Like, it was so well put together. And now that I understand a bit about marketing stuff, I'm watching it being like, man, what are they doing here? How have they convinced me so quickly that I should buy this massaging mat? But now, influencers are doing it. Different people are doing it. And I'm not against that shit. I'm just saying, we want to have a think about, are we making decisions, or are people sort of influencing what we're buying and what we're wearing and where we're eating and all of that sort of stuff? And make sure you want to do it, because it's your money at the end of the day, and you've had to work hard or provide value to be able to get it. Evaluate your circle. Which friends or social activities are pulling you away from your money goals? I had someone tell me today that this is the first summer that they've had to kind of miss out on a lot of things and see what their friends are up to and whatnot. They've just had to grind, and they've just had to go hard, because guess what? They're in a season. Now, if you don't understand the season, go and watch or listen to the Hunting Season podcast, and you'll understand that's exactly what that person is working through right now, and they're getting the rewards for it. And it's a little bit like this week for me, where some accountants are still, holidaying and whatnot, and that's all good stuff too, but I'm starting to build for what we're going to be doing this year. And I'm hunting. Like I'm having a little hunting week before I head away for another weekend and even have a day off next week. So we've all got to figure this stuff out for ourselves, but just evaluate your circle of friends and social activities and think about, are they actually helping you get closer to your money goals? And maybe you can't do some stuff. And I've had to go through some times where I can't do some stuff I want to do, and then you get yourself financially sweet and you're like, oh, that was why I did the hunting season. That was why I sacrificed so that now I can do some of that stuff. And now you get the choice to. And you're doing it in the right order. Check your screen time on your phone. Review your app usage. How many times are you going and spending hours of your life with entertainment, i.e. mindless scrolling, instead of life enrichment or education? That can creep in over the summer weeks where you've got more time on your hands, so we become more distractive because we're less productive and we're trying to holiday and rest, and we can start watching reels and all sorts of shit, and then the algorithm's going to keep feeding us fucking pandas, eating bamboo and falling off a slide or whatever. Come on, you've seen it, I've seen it, and it is pretty cute. But realistically, it ain't doing much for my life, and it ain't really getting me closer to my goals. So just be careful what you started doing in the summer that could flow through to the rest of the year, and you may distract yourself and then look back and be like, wow, how did I spend 43 hours this year watching pandas roll down slides? And have you seen this one? And now I'm following a page that's all they post about or something. Seriously, like, you think I'm joking, but there are pages that post that shit constantly, and people follow them, and you're just like, whoa, yeah, how did that even happen? How did that happen? Because we're looking for entertainment, not education. That's why there's no line for the library, but there are for entertainment events. So screen time, that's a good one. Assess your devices. Have a think about all the devices you've got in your house. PlayStation-like distractions, Xbox, etc., computers. Consider if those devices are moving you closer to your goals or taking you further back from where you would like to be. TV, iPad, etc. Have a look at it, because devices are really big in our life these days, and it just happened all of a sudden. And remember that once a TV was this focal point of a household, and it was this big thing. And if you still go into most people's homes, you'll notice that they are built around, their attention is all pointing towards this TV. That's crazy. It didn't once used to be there. But now we have laptops, we have iPads, we have devices in our pockets. There are so many devices in our lives now. So have a think around the devices and who put them there. Had you even thought about that? Are they good for you, or are they really, are they more temptation for procrastination rather than relaxation? You sound like a rapper in that bit. Consider if they're more temptation for procrastination rather than relaxation. Say that again. Stop it. Mobile games. What games or apps did you install on your phone? Yep, like you installed them. They probably didn't come on the phone. You chose to do them. Crushing candy or some shit. What is it? Are they harmless fun, or are they major time sucks? And look, I know I sound like the distraction Grinch here, And it's all good. Like, I get it that we want to have downtime and stuff. And I've got my vices and I've got my things that I, chew time up through. But the more we're aware of it, then it's easier to unwind when you are like, oh, fuck, I've just done an hour on Instagram. I got to get the hell off this shit, and I need to be producing. I need to be moving myself forward. I need to be reading. Like, what am I doing? And yet we're all, like, we're fighting an attention world and these distractions and these major algorithms and things that are going to be way cleverer than us. Like, they understand human psychology and stuff. They're big, powerful beasts, and like, we just think that we can get in control of them. Well, we can, but like, it's a battle, because they are very good at doing this shit to us. So, hopefully none of those triggered you too much. I'm sorry if they did, but let's keep rolling. Read on if you're bold. Let's go back to some more financial ones. Online sales and discounts. You know the drill on these, because recently there's probably been 8 sales in the last 3 months. Boxing Day, Black Friday, Single something, Cyber Mondays. Just, I can't even keep up. New Year's Day sales. I saw one the other day. I purchased something the other day, and they're like, oh, you've actually still qualified for the Boxing Day sale. It was about like the 3rd of January or something. I'm like, oh, it was like the 5th of January. I think I was still qualified for the Boxing Day sale. I was like, bro, where's the New Year's Day sale at? Oh, no, that's a different rate. Wait, what? Anyway, so online sales and discounts, just be aware of those, because they're going to get marketed to you, and then they become a distraction, because then you're scrolling and, do I want to buy that? Do I not? Do I really need it? Do I not? Oh, it's 30% off. Oh, man, etc. Number 2, social media ads. Targeted ads are designed to tempt you into buying things you didn't know you needed. Much like that ad yesterday. It's like, do I actually need that massaging pad? And although it was on TV, it was still very convincing. And there are a lot of social media ads on the devices that a lot of you will be on these days that are telling you to buy shit. But just be aware of how powerful these algorithms and these ads are. Very, very clever. Number 3, credit card overuse. Oh, tapping a card is quick, but it often takes us away from the reality of spending. I purchased breakfast this morning. I went to pay for it. Surcharge 44 cents. I'm like, nah, I'm plugging this in. So I pushed it in rather than tapping it, and I saved myself 44 cents. Really, I'm like, okay, can I afford the 44 cents? Yes, but out of principle, I'm just getting sick of getting smacked by these surcharges on the old tap-taparoonie. And what I do in my head is like, all right, I wonder what that 44 cents would be worth compounded over time. I know it's a bit geeky, but it's just sort of how I've trained myself to think. I don't always do it, and sometimes I just do it for convenience, but I'm aware of it. And when I do tap it, I'm like, well, you chose to, bro. Like, you could have pushed it in and then put your PIN number down, but no, you tapped it. So again, I'm just saying, like, have some awareness about this stuff. Geez, I thought I got myself lost here. Oh no, we're up to number 4. Buy now, pay later. Our favorite. These make it easy to overspend by breaking payments into smaller chunks, but the debt adds up. And as I often say, with buy now, pay later, you're basically signing up to a marketing distraction, because you're going to get retargeted by these big brands and end up in these funnels. So as you become more of a consumer, you then go wider. And I don't have buy now, pay later, but I'm just assuming that this is how it works, because when I had a certain finance type card, I would get the marketing from all of the different providers of that card being like, you can use that here. And I'm like, man, I'll buy some more shit. I didn't sign up for them. I signed up for the card and what the card could do for me, but then I end up being an indirect customer for all of these different places that are using it, because I'm thinking, well, I could buy from there. And Epic, they use buy now, pay later. Sorry, they use I was just coughing there. They use the card that I was using. And I think it's the same for buy now, pay later. And I noticed actually when I brought something in store recently with my debit card, that even the marketing email to me was like promoting buy now, pay later shit for their brand. And did you know that, that they accept it and that I could be using it? Number 5, too many goals at once. This is a good distraction. Focusing on multiple financial goals and not making any progress on any of them. So instead of having something that we're going after and staying focused and sticking to it, we set all these wide goals. And they actually become distractions, because we don't actually get any closer to them, and it's that old saying, someone who chases two rabbits doesn't catch one. That's actually not what the saying is. I can't remember what the saying is, but it's something about, you know what I'm trying to say. That's saying about fucking chasing rabbits, okay? Someone knows it, otherwise Google it. Saying about rabbits, and you'll find it. They catch none or something, I don't know. Anyway, you want to be thinking about how many goals you're setting yourself and the multiple financial goals and whether that's smart for you. Number 6, excessive email subscriptions. Retailers flood your inbox with tempting offers. Now, we just talked about that, but why this probably happens is 1, online sales and discounts. Bang, we sign up for email subscriptions. 2, social media ads. Well, they may have our email from somewhere, or we might end up buying from those. So we hand over our email, so we're going to get more subscription emails. Number 3, credit card overuse. Great, okay. Using our credit card online, etc. More emails in the future. Buy now, pay later. Exactly what we just talked about. And a lack of sticking to point 5. So if you're really clear on your goal, you might actually unsubscribe from some of those email subscriptions because I'm not going to purchase from these people. I don't need to. I've brought what I needed to. Leave me alone. I'll come back to you when I need to. And don't get me wrong. I help business owners, and I'm always like, hey, we should be emailing. And so we do it ourselves as well. But you've got to be aware of it. It's like if you're not going to use those services, just unsubscribe. The business owners don't care. Yep, you might hurt some people's egos, but every day people are unsubscribing from things. So just have a think about whether you need those distractions, whether you are a conscious consumer enough to be able to go, I'm not even going to open that, I'm not going to read it, or I don't need to because I don't want to be tempted. And have a think about where you're at with that. The next one, daily checking of investment balances. Again, it's like we're looking for instant gratification, not delayed gratification. So then we're tweaking our investments. We're looking for, what KiwiSaver fund are you in? Who are you using for your investing? What trends are you following? Who are you following? What's the hype? What's the marijuana stocks doing at the moment? That was all the rage for a bit. And that's going to lead to chopping and changing, unnecessary fees, and potentially even missed growth opportunities. Now, is it a good idea to be chasing those little micro changes and trying to time the market and do all this stuff and checking your balances every day? Or is it better to focus on increasing your own value, increasing your own ability, and increasing your income? You know what the answer is to that. So just be careful. Now, finally, don't forget everybody's favorite shiny objects. These are the latest gadgets that you don't need, but you probably have to have. For some reason, you're going to convince yourself that you need the shiny objects. And this happens all the time for all of us. We see it on our phones, on our devices, in business, in our personal lives. There are always shiny objects popping up that we think, shit, maybe I need to have that. That's pretty fancy. But if we're not really going to use it, do we need it? It could even be, fashion that will be out of style in 6 months. A car upgrade when your current one is running perfectly fine, or doing a moderation to the car or whatever because you've seen someone else doing it. Is it just a shiny object? So ask yourself, will I care about this in a month? If the answer is no, well then maybe skip the shiny objects. Right, now that we've identified some of these distractions, we need to complete the swap. Struggling with my voice here. The swap is where we swap some of these out of our life. So we're trying to get the distractions out. So have a think about 2 or 3 of these that you can swap out. And I've just been giving you some ideas to start thinking about things that will be distracting you. But remember as well that if you read Atomic Habits or the like, it's smart to have something more beneficial to swap in. So when you're swapping something negative out of your life, something you don't want to be doing, it's often smart to swap in something you do want to be doing so that you're then doing something more beneficial, productive, or positive when you would be doing something that you no longer want to be doing. So here's some ideas to get you started. You could stop using Buy Now, Pay Later for 3 months and instead use cash. That would be the swap. You could unsubscribe from marketing emails you get from each of the places you used Buy Now, Pay Later. Then you're getting your time back. So that's great. And then you're less tempted to buy whatever it is that they're now trying to sell you, when really you were buying the thing that you wanted. And now you're potentially going to buy something you didn't want. Why not stick to one project for 6 months to a year instead of jumping from one to the other? Have a think about that. What's happening this year for you that you want to actually stick to and stay consistent? and practice that skill of consistency. What about unfollowing entertainment influencers, which are a time suck for you, which you know that they are, i.e. pandas going down slides and eating bamboo, and swap in some education around something you want to learn about? Might be learning French, or more about money, or psychology, or health, or whatever. Swap out some entertainment and unfollow, and then sub in some education. Replace endless scrolling with reading or earning. So instead of scrolling, like when I do this, I've trained myself to be like, why am I doing this? Get off and go and produce. So I go producer rather than consumer. So that's my swap, is then I try and move myself to a different state and start doing something that's more beneficial. But when I was building my business in the early days, I'd be like, what are you doing, man? You're on the couch scrolling this shit. You don't really need to rest. Get back to your desk and do some shit. And so that's what I would do. Audit subscriptions and choose 1 over 3. Do you really need all of those streaming subscriptions, or do you just need one of them where 80% of the stuff is that you watch? Can you then get rid of 2? Switch impulse spending for an investment habit. So instead of buying things at an impulse, why not take that money that you were about to spend on things that maybe you don't really need and go and transfer it to an investment platform and invest it? And I've had a number of people tell me last year that that's what they do. And then they feel like they are still, getting a win, and they've kind of won twice because they've invested the money and then they haven't brought the thing, but they still feel like, okay, well, I was going to spend it, so why not invest it? And then the money's gone, and then they are providing for their future. The next one is trade comparison for attitude. So if you continue to compare yourself to others or just make comparisons, why not think about gratitude instead? So be grateful for what you do have rather than what you don't have and comparing yourself to what others have. Replace online shopping with a financial goal vision board. Now, I know that a lot of people like to scroll different, like e-commerce type, clothing and stuff like that. Why not? And when you're bored or when you're looking for a pick-me-up or something, we've all got like emotional reasons for purchasing at times. Why not, instead of doing that, why not go, you know what, I'm going to create a financial vision board and put one of those together of the things that you would like to see in your life, who you would like to become, what you would like to achieve, and do that. And then every time you're going to get bored and go look to a shop to fill up your boredom, go back and look at that financial vision board and be like, if I go and buy this shit and do this stuff, is that the actions that I need to be taking in order to achieve the vision board? Now, I dare you to do that. That would be a very, very confronting exercise to do, but one that would be very beneficial for someone who spends a lot of time on online shopping. Sell the PlayStation or cap the online gaming. Why don't you put like a time limit on it? Do you really need to be spending hours and hours on those devices if you've got shit that you want to be achieving? Instead of chasing the new and shiny, focus on sticking to your goals. I had a meeting this week with someone, and I was basically explaining how, and I've said to you guys on the podcast before, when you start achieving more, you know that the start of a new year kind of gets boring because you don't have these big exciting goals anymore. You just know, like you already know where you're going, what your values are and principles and stuff, and you're like, I just got to keep going. And then someone said to me recently, like, how do you know that the 1st of January is the first day of the year? I'm like, because everybody knows that. And they're like, well, why isn't it like the 1st of April? Because it is in accounting. I'm like, good point. And I hadn't really thought about that before. And then they kind of said, well, I think it used to actually be the 1st of April was the start of the year. So we all decided somehow that it was the start of the year, right? And we just live into it. And then we see all these people that have been marketed to that at the start of the year, you come back and you've got new goals and you're hissing and new you and all this sort of shit. And you've never really stopped to think like, wow, like how did they do that to us? Had you ever really thought about that? Like, I hadn't. I mean, I kind of at like a high level, but when someone asked me about it, I'm like, man, that's a good point. Like, what's the difference between the 1st of January and the 1st of November? It's the feeling and the meaning that we put on it, right? So when you have big goals and when you know that you just need to stick to processes in order to get them, it becomes a bit more boring than big new goal and what's all the stuff that you're going to need to do it. So sometimes it's a good but it's a good place to get to know that you've just got to work your processes and get shit done. So I hope that for some of you, you can sort of understand that that difference, or just know that you need to do more of the stuff. I just had a call with our marketing agency as well, and I'm like, here's the strategy that I'm kind of working to. I know that if I do all these things in the background, this stuff should happen, and now I just need to do it. And it's not like, here's my goal for the number of this and whatnot. It's just like, this is what I'm trying to do, and these should be the outcomes if I do all of this stuff over here. So think about goals and processes, but just ignore those shiny objects and stay focused on your goals, and think that every time you get distracted, it's taking your focus away, and it's taking you away from your goals. Now, I know that some people are going to say that they don't have time for their goals, even though we've just talked about all these distractions, and they don't have time to do some of this stuff. What I wanted to do is figure out, well, if we could swap out, say, shit content that we're consuming on one of our devices, like the TV, how many hours is that? And anyway, I found this data that is allegedly from NZ On Air type surveys that they do, and apparently the average New Zealander streams around 20 to 25 hours per week. Yo, okay. I don't even think that includes social media. So I think that was just like YouTube, Netflix, etc., or the streaming subscriptions. 20 to 25 hours per week. And it said also that households subscribe to 3 to 4 streaming platforms simultaneously. Now, I kind of thought, no chance. But then, even when I thought about my household, I'm like, actually, once you go like Sky, I've got YouTube. Once you put it into a household, you start going, oh, okay, well, maybe. So do we really need 3 or 4 streaming platforms? Have a think about that stuff. But that is right there. That is a lot of time for people. And if you've got things to achieve, that's probably your swap. Get rid of some of that stuff. You're going to get some money back. You're going to get some time back. And in that time, you can then turn it back into even more money, or whatever it could be. It might not even be money. It might be time of the kids. It might be fitness, or just aiming it towards time and money. Those are tools, right? And you point them towards the things that you want to achieve. So I think if we just take those stats alone, there's plenty of time there to swap into something productive and beneficial. But only if you want it. How bad do you want it? Only you can answer that. So, as I often say, be bold. This year it's going to be bolder, but be swappy. Have a little swap up to start the year. Have a think about what things you can swap out of your life that are going to distract you, and remove some negative and put some positive in. We've cracked 12,000 recipients on the old email list and 8,000 on LinkedIn, so about 20,000 on the old written version. There's 850,000 downloads of the podcast last year, over 550,000 views on YouTube. This snowball is rolling. It is seriously rolling. We're going to be into year 5 when we get to May, and the snowball is well down the hill. Did you know? And 63% of, this isn't the did you know for the week, but did you know 63% of podcast listeners on Spotify found the podcast in 2024. That's mind-blowing for me. That data, I'm like, whoa, okay, probably need to, what do I need to do? So I've already got a plan of what I think I need to do to keep that going. Anyway, research last year found that consumers who adopted Buy Now, Pay Later were more likely to purchase, with purchase likelihood increasing from 17% to 26%. Also, their basket sizes were 10% larger on average than they were before the introduction of Buy Now, Pay Later. Oh, Buy Now, Pay Later is real good at it. Splits all my payments down. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't spend any more than. Same with credit cards. Like, no, man, it's so good. Like, I never spent any more than I would have. Like, don't worry about the fees. Don't worry about the interest. The 16 times I went behind. No, I never got behind on it. We say all this shit, but the data that these research scientists continue to find is that when we don't use our money, when we use credit in some form, we're like, yeah, I'll spend more. And I've been there and I've done it. And I probably was a great respondent to some of these surveys back in the day. So as much as we think we're this perfect person that wouldn't do that, the data continues to tell us that using things like Buy Now, Pay Later and credit cards, we will spend more, and the average purchase will increase. And then we've got to pay that back. And what do we pay it back with? Our time, our work, our sacrifice, the value we add to the marketplace. So is it really worth it? having this shit. Buy now, pay later, credit cards and stuff. All I'm saying, you do you. You do you. I never tell people what they should or shouldn't be doing. Do I really? Anyway, I just try and present things so you can make your own decisions. However, why not try it? Why not try it, man? As Greg Plitt would say, why not do a year or 6 months where you don't use credit cards or debt? Oh my God, what about all the points I could have got? Seriously? 1 year of points? Like, why not try being the person who doesn't need that shit? You're distracted by the points. It's another distraction. Anyway. But no, like we're cultish with our credit cards. We've got to say that we're the perfect credit card customer and it's no harm and you don't understand or whatever. Like I've heard it all before. I get it. Each to their own. And, I've got a debit card that has reward points on it. It's not credit card. Like, well, don't know how many times I can say that too. But anyway, that's for each individual. I think we don't want to let go of being the credit card person or the buy now, pay later person. And it was really hard for me to wean myself off of that shit as well. But just know that, we're fighting a trickier battle because we're handing over so much of our power to these big beasts that are very good at getting us to spend more. Anyway, good 36 minutes there. I hope you've had a good start to the year. I'm looking forward to seeing how you progress in 2025. Be good out there, and I will see you next week.